Hey, Dave the Butterfly Guy here. I'm in St. Michael, Minnesota with Heather, and Heather's done some great stuff in her yard. She has put prairie and restored her turf landscape of grass into prairie land. So I wanted to introduce Heather and have her tell us a little bit about the work she's done in her yard. So Heather, what a great prairie.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we after we moved in and we had the typical miles and miles of green grass, we decided that we wanted to provide a landscape, a habitat for bees and butterflies and birds and whatever, and cut back on our mowing. So this prairie over here is actually our septic mound, and we started with just letting that grow over because you can't plant trees on there. You know, you can't plant trees really around it, and that kind of took off, and it was really pretty. And so we decided to do this lower prairie a few years later, and my husband kind of disked it up with a tractor and a disc, and we went out to the prairie restoration store and bought native grasses and wildflower seeds, and then just kind of let it go and do its thing. And it took a few years before it's kind of taken off, but we have, like right in front here, we have some blue stem, and then there's a lot of um, goldenrod, black-eyed Susans, and a lot of other native grasses mixed in there that just attract the birds and the butterflies and the bees. So we could try to keep this one a little more, you know, try to do battle with the thistles and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
because we did actually plant this one. But every now and then you get the invasive species that get in there too.
Sure.
So we're really happy with it. Every year it's a little bit different, so it's kind of fun to
Yeah.
see how it turns out and what pops up where.
It's great. I know blue stem grasses are a host plant for skipper butterflies, so it's nice to have some grasses that are a host plant. And then with the goldenrod and the black-eyed Susans, those are such nice pollinating flowers for butterflies and bees. So that's a really great thing you've done in your yard.
Thanks.
So Heather, I know with prairies, a lot of times fire plays an important role. Do you guys do any burns, or how does that work with your prairie?
We do. We every 3 years we burn the prairie. My husband did a lot of research before we planted it, and we actually burned the prairie this spring, both of them, the upper and the lower, and it came back in full force. Last year it was kind of sparse, and you can tell, you know, years that you don't burn it, it's not quite as vibrant, and there's not, for whatever reason, as much kind of diversity. You get a lot of maybe the more weedy grasses coming through, but after you give it that burn, and it just revitalizes the whole prairie. And so this year it's huge. People have commented too, like, why is your prairie so big this year? Well, we burned it, and so it keeps it healthy. It's just kind of mimics nature, where if there was a lightning strike or whatever,
Right.
it kind of just keeps everything rolling. So we do
Yeah.
that every 3 years.
All right, so we've moved to another part of the prairie here, and host plants are critical for monarch survival, and Heather's got some great host plants for monarchs, so maybe you could tell us about those.
Okay, so over here we have a little stand of just common milkweed, and again, we did not plant this, it just kind of came up. We have this berm here that once again, we got tired of mowing, so we just let it grow, and it's kind of it's spread out. We started off with maybe one or two little stalks of milkweed, and now it's kind of spreading out, and we see the eggs on the leaves, and the caterpillars and the butterflies are all very active, and there's all throughout both the upper and the lower prairie, the seeds have just spread, and there's milkweed all over in there. And so yeah, it's kind of fun to see every year how many and what part of the prairie they take over. They started in one very specific area, and then next year they went to seed and went over here, and so they just have kind of done their thing.
Yeah, that's just so fabulous because monarchs are so reliant on milkweed, so it's fabulous that you've got so many milkweed stocks in your prairie here. All right, so we've come to the other side of the prairie, and there's some great yellow flowers over here, and I'm hoping, Heather, you can tell us about what flowers you have on this side of your prairie.
Yeah, so over here, right here, we have the sunflowers, obviously, and those kind of are complements of the birds, and every year we just let them go to seed. They started kind of on their own, and then we let them go to seed, and they come back a little bit fuller every year. And then this is goldenrod back here, and I believe goldenrod is a native kind of it's invasive, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we just kind of let that go, and it's really opened up right now, and there's tons of bees all over it. I haven't seen, like you were saying, I haven't seen any butterflies really around it, but the bees, it's just, if you go near it, it looks like it's just moving. There's so many bees out there.
Yeah, goldenrod's a great native Minnesota pollinator, and yeah, the bees seem to just love it. So it's really cool on this side of your prairie. So in addition to the great prairie area in Heather's yard, she's also got a garden with some great plants. So I was hoping you could share with us the plants you have in your garden here.
Sure. So starting at the end there, the big bush on the end is a potentilla, and it's kind of almost done flowering right now, but we get lots of pollinators on that, of course. And then next to it, there's a little sedum bush, black-eyed Susans, and then the little pink flowers here are coreopsis, and always tons of butterflies and bees and birds and what have you out here enjoying the flowers.
Yeah, what I like about the sedums, they bloom later in the summer, so some of your other plants are starting to die off with the flowering. The sedums are just getting going for the back half of the summer. You've got a really healthy sedum looking there.
Yep, it's getting ready to pop open.
All right, I want to thank Heather for sharing her prairie with us. So thank you, Heather.
Yes.
You're doing such a great job creating habitat for bees and butterflies. So well done.
Thank you.
So that's all I have today. It's Dave the Butterfly Guy signing out from a great prairie area. Have a great day.